Yep. Uh, Hello, Simon. Today, the topic I want to discuss is a guy in India. He committed suicide because he didn't get selected in the IPL squad, and I can relate to that during my career because I came across a lot of these problems when I was playing cricket. And obviously, there's a lot of times you try to work very hard, you give your 100%, but you don't get the outcomes you always dreamt of. So I remember when I was playing under 19, I went for the selection in the Pakistan under 19 squad, and I couldn't get selected. And obviously, I was very depressed. And for me to come out of that depression was very difficult because luckily I had people around me who got me through the stage of my life. I had good friends, I had good family, but I was feeling very sorry and emotional for the guy who committed suicide because obviously he must have tried his best. He must have worked very hard for 1 year, and he was expecting it in the IPL squad. So the reason for me to ask you all this, I mean, telling you all these scenarios, I want you to give us like something like for all these cricketers who are going through this kind of situation and how to handle these kind of situation positively so they don't have to do these kind of things in the future again.
Yeah, and it's so desperately sad, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely crippling. You know, when you hear these stories, you don't know these people, but it doesn't make any difference. You just cannot imagine the horrors that are going on in their minds, you know, as leading up to that terrible outcome. So my heart and soul goes out to, you know, the families and the people affected. So this is a really important video. This is probably far bigger than just cricket. This is about talking to people of all ages. So something we discussed only earlier, which is probably the most fundamental and the most important thing to me, is that whenever I work with anyone, I always say to them that when you place your entire focus on the result, I mean all of it, at some level you have to contemplate the possibility of failure. So and we're all programmed to avoid failure. So what we need to do is, as we've spoke about before, but to put all of our focus, not so much on the result. We need to know what we want, but we need to place our focus on growth, on our performance, on it moving forward, because that is where true happiness is. When you are growing on a consistent basis, everyone knows what that feels like. When you just feel that you've made those tiny little changes on a daily basis. You change by 1% every single day, you're 365% better off in a year. I mean, it's just staggering. So if you can just place all your focus on growth, that's the starting point. Understand that results are feedback. So even if you set up a small goal, which is to get a number of runs to get into a team, understand that if you don't get the result you want, that is feedback. And what I mean by that is whenever you have an experience where you don't get the result you want, so in other words, we could label that as failure, understand that there are hidden gems. There are learnings from that which are so important. And we're so quick to say, well, we just want to forget about that and just get on with the next bit. And that's fine, but we've got to find the gems. We've got to look for the gems. So once we find those gems, and they are all the ways that we can improve on the next performance, and then we implement them, and then we just go forward so that we're continually on that journey. And we're enjoying the journey because our focus is on the growth and not necessarily on the result. And as we said before, when we're growing on a consistent basis, that's where true happiness and fulfillment is. So I think that's probably the most important thing. It doesn't cover everything, but it just gives people something to work on. But I think the other thing that we have to get across is that when you are a young males in particular, females as well, but definitely young guys, is that they have a tendency to kind of keep all these emotions inside and trapped inside. And you were never designed for that. You have to let it out, okay? So I always say to any of my students, have somebody you can trust. Have just one person, that's all you need, to be able to say to them, look, when I feel that I'm overwhelmed, then I need to talk to you. You do exactly the same. This is what we do, is that we listen to understand, not to reply. This is not about me telling you something, you coming up with a story about you. It's not the time for that. This is the time for me to be able to talk to you very openly, and you understand. If you can't find anyone to do that, then write it down. Just pretend you're on the phone, just talking to an imaginary friend, but do not hold it all in. Make sure you release it by talking and by writing. It is the most important thing to do. So very, very simply, for a cricket point of view, make sure that you have your goals. Yes, very, very important. But then understand that you put all your focus on the growth. Understand that when you don't get the result you want, there are hidden gems. Your job is to find them. Those hidden gems are all the ways you can improve on the next performance. So you continue this journey of growth rather than all about the result and I don't get it and my world just collapses. And also just make sure you have that very, very special friend who's just going to be there for you when you can just talk, but do the same for them as well. It's a two-way process. So I know that when we were talking also, we were saying about, the system, and you were highlighting some problem system, if you like. So what were you saying? Explain exactly what you meant by that.
Well, first of all, the thing I'm going to talk about is, the cricketers or the athletes in Pakistan and India, they're not taken seriously when it comes to mental health. Because obviously when we have this kind of problem, the thing you were saying before, that the kids keep everything inside, it's one of the reasons is that cricketers or athletes, they're considered as somebody who just played the game. So when they play the game, it means it's not anything serious. Yeah. So when it's not serious, then nobody's going to obviously take you seriously. So if you're going to have any mental problem or distress, people will say, "Oh, it's only a game. It's not gonna do anything to you." So first of all, we have to understand it's not only a game; it's a dream. Yeah. We work very hard to come on the top or to play cricket in these kind of countries because obviously cricket is a very long game. You have to keep working hard to come onto that stage where you play, where you represent your country or your state. And the population back home is quite a lot basically. So everybody wants to play cricket. And to get onto that stage is very difficult. So the first important thing is that people have to take you seriously and where mental health comes in the middle. So people will have to see that if somebody is going through this kind of situation, how to address their situation perfectly. And secondly, the thing you spoke about, that whenever we're going through this kind of situation, we always have to remind ourselves, or what I used to do was every time I used to get very emotional or didn't get selected anywhere, I always used to say to myself was like, why did I start playing cricket? So the reason I did that was because it always used to take me to my childhood again. And I used to think that the reason I used to play cricket was because I loved it. It wasn't because I wanted to have contract or money or cars or anything or fame. And a lot of people from Pakistan and India especially, they get into that fantasy world because they watch other cricketers like achieving this kind of materialistic thing in their lives, and they start following them as well, and they think like, okay, one day we'll be able to do the same as well. But you always have to keep reminding yourself why you start playing cricket. And how can you remind yourself is like by at the beginning, when you select your passion, purpose, then the things becomes much easier, because when you know what your real passion is, and this is the only thing you always want to do in your life, and then when you go through difficult times, you can always remember that my passion is cricket. So it's not like an external thing. Obviously, it's both ways. Obviously, like people want to have some external motivation as well. But when you're going through this difficult time, you can always remind yourself that no, I started playing cricket because of my internal motivation, which was just the love of the game. So this will keep you going. And then the thing I will talk about the cricket system back home is like, whenever people who come from outside the system, they try to do anything, everything becomes very difficult for them, because the thinking back home, the thinking in Asia is everybody has to come to the system. The system is like junior cricket, under 16s, under 19s. And because the coaches and the board put a lot of investment in them, so they think, no, these are the correct players who should be representing the regional teams or the country teams, and everybody else who come from outside the system, they're not good enough, and they're not even like given proper treatment as well. So that's where I disagree with these kind of players, because I know in my career I've seen so many players who were so good, who didn't play age group cricket, but even then they represented the state teams. Even though for them things were very difficult, but even then they tried their best and kept going. So this is the message I would want to give for the regional teams back home.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, for to build that awareness, then obviously these videos have a huge part to play in this. So we ask people to like and share and subscribe and comment and just get involved in the conversation. But that's exactly what we're talking about, because we are here for you guys, the people that are watching. So if you can get on board, and as I say, just liking, just making a comment, sharing, just subscribing, helping us to get this to go viral, then it gives us the opportunity to really get your voice out there. It's so important. And what really highlighted it for me was yesterday's the devastating news. So yeah, just do that simple thing, because it's not about us, it's about us as a group of people who work together and get that message across. So I think today's video is probably the most important one we've recorded, actually.
Yeah, well, the reason for me to start this the YouTube channel was that I wanted to help all those cricketers who were going through bad situation in their lives. And I wouldn't only restrict that to cricket. I can actually think about so many other people who've had difficult careers, and by telling them all these mental skills, we can help them, and they can basically help themselves basically. So when you learn these things, you can apply all these skills on yourself. Trust me, like I did a lot of work on myself as well for the past 3 years, because once I stopped playing cricket, the transition was very difficult. And why it was difficult was because obviously cricket becomes your identity. You get so much used to this, special treatment from all the people around you. And when it becomes your identity, all the friends you have is like cricketers. Everybody knows you as a cricketer. So by being a simple guy is very difficult. So when I started studying sports psychology, I applied all the skills in myself, and I'm very happy that I've come a long way. Because in the middle, to tell you the truth, I went through a bit of a depression phase as well. And I'm happy that now I've actually helped myself, and now I can help other people as well. So again, the message you've just sent earlier was that all these people who are going through this kind of emotional depression, with selection problem and all these kind of things, they should email us or write to us and tell us the kind of problems they're going through. And the best thing we can do for them is we can make the videos and help them overcome those kind of situations. So I think it's very powerful. And I really wish I had somebody I could talk to about 15, 20 years ago. And trust me, if I did, I'd be a much different better player. Definitely. So hopefully people will like the video, share the video with other people, and come up with their own problems.
Absolutely. Just get involved in conversation. Just get involved here for you. Mate, great talking to you today. Really.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Okay. And see you very soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.